Over the King's Birthday long weekend in 2024, the annual Adelaide Model Railway Exhibition was held, presented by the Adelaide Model Railway Exhibition Incorporated at the Greyhound Racing Park in Angle Park, with over 50 layouts and trade stands. And in this video, we're going to take a look at some of these layouts. This exhibition report was made possible by Trackside Models. Elevate your model railway or architectural projects with Trackside Models, where quality meets precision. Their laser-cut structures are precisely crafted to perfection, ensuring every detail is captured flawlessly. Experience the difference with Trackside Models, where quality, affordability, and Australian craftsmanship converge. Explore their collection today and bring your miniature world to life like never before. And of course, get 10% off all orders with code WillJamesRailways at checkout. Exhibition reports on this channel are made possible by the patrons on Patreon, and if you are interested in gaining early access to videos whilst supporting their production, head over to my Patreon, linked in the description. And of course, if you are new here, don't forget to be subscribed so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. So let's start with the South Australian Railway Modelers Association HO scale layout Strathburn, set in the Adelaide Hills during springtime in the mid-1960s. The layout consists of a double-track mainline and a single branch line and station, loosely based on Strathburn. The layout is generically South Australian, but due to the diverse interests of the group members, from time to time you might see equipment running from other systems. Strathburn is a fully DCC layout, and is usually operated by 4 people at a minimum, but it can always be more. This layout debuted in July 2011, after the retirement of their previous layout, Florley Springs, with the construction of new frames for the modules. After putting all the modules together and making sure they all fit correctly, work commenced on track laying and scenery basics. The build crew was generally 5 to 7 members, 1 whole day and 1 night every week. Other club members also volunteered to build electronic items and create buildings, trees, scenery items and other bits and pieces for Strathburn. This was the last public showing of Strathburn, as their new layout is nearing completion, although I am aware that this layout has passed on to new owners, so this may not be the last time that we see it. G45 Thomas the Tank Engine in garden scale. See Thomas, Annie and Clarabelle arrive at Farquhar Station and welcome their friends for a big day out. You can watch James and Emily pulling their coaches, as well as Diesel, Paxton and Percy, as well as Toby the Tram Engine and Sir Topham Hatt. Global classics from the classic train collectors in O-scale. Members of the Classic Train Collectors Group enjoy collecting, restoring and operating commercially produced model trains past and present. The earliest models of engineering miniatures produced by manufacturers of full-sized locomotives to demonstrate their potential products during the railway mania of the 19th century. Many of these early models were detailed and exact and are now accepted as antiques. Toy trains came shortly afterwards, when Marklin made model trains available at the Nuremberg Toy Fair, which began in 1949, and with that the fascination of toy trains had begun. The group's interests include O-gauge classics from Bassetloke, Exley and Leeds from England, Bing and Marklin from Germany, Jep from France, Lima and Rivarossi from Italy, Lionel, K-Line and Williams from the United States, while from Australia there's Ferris, Marulin and Robilt.
There's a little marching band here.
The Australian Model Railway Association Victoria's layout, Maryborough in HO scale. Construction of Maryborough commenced in 2004. It represents Maryborough Station, as it was in 1961 and 1962, when steam was coming to the end and diesels were becoming more common. The colours of the station building represent those applied after World War II, until the recent restoration and repainting back into the original 1891 heritage colours. Much of the infrastructure here has long been removed. The water tower, the level crossing at the Mildura end, the signal boxes and semaphore signals. Luckily much remains, like the station building, goods shed, flour mill and way of works depot, and some of the historic houses as seen in the background. HO and 00 scale layout Lakeside from the Noarlunga Model Railroaders. This layout is designed for ease of operation. It's light, simple and easily transported and low mounted to facilitate its use as a mobile display, and can be operated by 3 or 4 members. The low height is an advantage for smaller children and residents of nursing and aged care homes, and this was the main reason for the design. The scenery consists of polystyrene foam and kit-built buildings and is generic in nature. The entire layout is DCC controlled, and more has been added since the last Ampney show. You can see trains from all over the world, from the United States to Britain and to ones from Australia. HO scale layout Southwest Europe from the Marklin Model Railway Club of South Australia. This club was formed in July 1971 to run European HO scale outline mainly from the Marklin manufacturer. This is a 3-rail AC operation where the power is gained from the stud in the centre rail. The engines have a shoe located underneath between the rails. The layout consists of 1080mm by 600mm modules bolted together with a basic parallel track configuration, 64mm apart and a standard 250mm from the front edge. All other track branches from this configuration. It's controlled by a central station 3+, with all the equipment having digital chips and their own unique address. The operation is to German railway standards, and the scenery depicted is that of generic cities, towns and countrysides. Trains and rolling stock from all parts of Europe, as far back as the early 1900s through to today, can be seen running on this layout.
Yeah, no, now I just avoid tales I can't pronounce the names of, and I'll just cut them out of videos. There's too much feedback about this. Yeah, because I get contradictions as well. Like, this guy had a huge go at me about,
Australian HO scale layout West Croydon Railway Station. The West Croydon Railway Station is located 10 minutes northwest of Adelaide on the Port Line. The mission of this 5-year project was to capture the romance of South Australian railways, and what the station and surrounding area of West Croydon used to look like between the late 1940s and the early 1950s. The Rosetta Street underpass was built in 1909, and the station building followed in 1915, with the station platforms built over the overpass and pedestrian subway, a unique design on the South Australian Railways network. The station buildings burnt down in 1978. With a number of passenger services that pass through the station, and all sorts of different goods trains were a daily occurrence to and from the factories and manufacturers located along the port line. Almost all the pieces in the construction of this layout have been scratch built and detailed with various materials. And if you do want to find out more about this layout, there is a standalone video on it available to watch after this one. English 00 scale layout, Little Oaklands. This freelance layout depicts a rural branch line somewhere in the north of England. Quarry loader at the terminus has ensured the line's survival through to the 1970s, but for how much longer? The layout is built on a single 1800 by 900 panel of particle board and shows what can be achieved in a small area. Scenic effects are made from cheap materials, structures are mostly super quick or scratch built, and the trains are all ready to run. And next to it was HO scale layout Oakland Junction, which is a freelance layout depicting a rural branch line somewhere in the southeast of South Australia. This layout sits on two 18 by 600 particle boards to show what can be achieved in a 6 foot by 4 foot area. Scenic effects are made from cheap or scrounged materials, structures and rolling stock are scratch built with cardstock. Steam locomotives are kit bashed from American models and the diesels are ready to run. HO scale layout Golden Valley, which is a fictional town, and this is a new layout all the way from Brisbane, Queensland, and it was the first time it was seen at this show. It depicts two main running lines with USA and British trains.
Yeah, totally. Right.
Hornby Doublo were made by Meccano from 1938 to 1964. They were all 3-rail until 1959, when a complementary 2-rail system was introduced. The company collapsed in 1964 and was bought by Ryne. The layout uses 3-rail on the outside and middle circuits, including a travelling post office at the end of an express train which picks up and delivers bags of mail. One of the more interesting layouts that was at the exhibition, and something that we don't really get to see in, well, Australia, was a gauge 1 in 32 scale German layout, BW Kings Park. The layout represents a part of a larger German locomotive servicing facility and yard. It allows the owner, Bob's Models, to do some, if limited, running in what he hopes will be a realistic setting. Australian HO scale layout, Belair. Belair railway station is located on the Adelaide to Melbourne line in the Adelaide southern foothills suburb of Belair, 21.5 kilometres from Adelaide station. The railway station opened in 1883, with the opening of the Adelaide to Aldgate section of the Adelaide to Melbourne line. Belair is a scenic location at the edge of the Belair National Park, and the station has a number of historic preserved buildings. In past years, many people have travelled to Belair at weekends to enjoy the adjacent national park. And the large 1890s vintage wooden shelter on the platform was built for those crowds. There were other facilities at the station, like refreshment room, but are now long gone. The layout was built by a few people in the 1990s and exhibited then. Since then, a new group has taken ownership of Belair, and it has undergone a full rewire to a DCC system with computer controlled points. The layout is currently undergoing a full refurbishment with all new track and scenery. HO scale layout Southern Central Railroad from the Adelaide Model Railroaders. The Southern Central Railroad is a switching layout built to a common theme, whilst only needing a small footprint. Ideal for those without the space or time to build a full-sized empire layout, or for those just starting out. With the small size, the switching of the layout takes less time and less cost to build, and can be tucked out of the way and quickly set up to deliver many hours of enjoyment. This layout is powered by an NCE DCC system and features KD couplers with hidden scratch-built magnetic uncouplers for hands-off shunting. A couple of the most interesting layouts were T-scale layouts of Penzance and Malmsbury. Penzance is a model of the seaside terminus of the old Great Western Railway, the extreme southwestern corner of England's railway network. It's set in 1913, just before the loco depot was moved a couple of miles up the line, and the storm-battered wooden viaduct on the beachfront was replaced with a double-track causeway.
Advance notice of what's happening. That one, for example, as soon as that arrives, the other passenger.
Malmsbury is a model of the stone viaduct and minor station on the line between Melbourne and Bendigo in Victoria, set around the end of steam in the 1960s. Both layouts are T-gauge, which is 1 to 480th scale, using a linear motor drive system instead of conventional propulsion. This avoids many of the usual reliability problems of working in this tiny scale, and makes automation of trains simple. The layouts are both 6 foot by 2 foot in size, and all structures and trains are 3D printed in ABS plastic using a basic filament printer.
Am I? How wonderful. They're like silly European. They're
Gen Gap by Marty Fox in HO scale. Gen Gap is a model railway layout that takes inspiration from the breathtaking South Australian outback, specifically the Flinders Ranges. This collaborative project spans generations, involving everyone from grandparents to parents and children, who have poured countless hours of creative effort into bringing this miniature landscape to life. One of the standout features of Gen Gap is the use of locomotives that pay homage to the long-haul outback trains that traverse this iconic region. The creation of Gen Gap began in 2019 and continued over 5 years, culminating in 2024. The extended time frame reflects on the commitment and dedication that have turned this project into a labour of love. Gen Gap serves as a meaningful way for family members to connect, share their passion for the South Australian outback and their love of model railways.
Yes, and you get to pack up early today.
HO scale layout Northern Territory Junction from the NMRA Division 6. The National Model Railroad Association Incorporated is an international organisation which controls the design and construction parameters of model railway components in the hobby. It has a social side which promotes fellowship and education in the hobby. Division 6 is the South Australian chapter of the Australian region of the NMRA, and members meet at each other's homes on a monthly basis. This display includes demonstrations of various modelling skills that are involved in the model railway hobby. HO00 scale layout black and white. Black and white is made by a creative modelling group. Sadly, 2 members have passed away, and they wanted their layout to keep going. The layout is based in World War II between 1939 and 1945, when the Allies were at war with Germany. Just like seeing it in a black and white movie, the layout is based on real events, together with some fictional scenes from TV shows like Hogan's Heroes and Kelly's Heroes. The scenery consists of abandoned buildings, trucks, tanks and planes. Maree from the Wye Model Railway Society in HO and HON 3.5. Maree was the location of the change of gauges on the Adelaide to Alice Springs Railway, changing from standard to narrow gauge between the years of 1957 to 1980. Locomotives and rolling stock on this layout are typical of that era. Maree is an outback town on the Central Australian Railway from 1883 on the narrow gauge line from Port Augusta to Oodnadatta. The line was extended up to Alice Springs in 1927. The line remained in service as narrow gauge until 1957, when the standard gauge line opened from Port Augusta to Maree. The narrow gauge line ran the rest of the way to Alice Springs. It continued this way until 1980, when the opening of the Adelaide to Alice Springs, and later Darwin, standard gauge line ran further to the west. Maree lost its rail link in 1986, when the track from Lee Creek to Maree was removed. Enchanted Wood, a whimsical exhibit for children and for the young at heart. The layout depicts a day in an enchanted wood, where forest animals gather at special events, catch up on the woodland gossip and let the children play or take a ride on the Lego train. The scene was inspired from the magical woodland scenes from Shirley Barber's storybooks. N-scale layout Planes of Fame from the South Australian N-Gauge Society. This layout features an airport theme, displaying various aviation modes of transport, passenger terminal, cargo distribution warehouse, airplane hangars and a space museum, and one end there's a NASCAR raceway and the other end has drive-in movies. In some surprising movements, you can see appearances from Japanese bullet trains, British mainline passenger consists behind steam locomotives, German passenger trains, and local Australian consists. The centre track is DC controlled, and controlled by the operator's side of the layout, but the front and the back tracks are DCC, where the operators can run trains from their mobile phones. Bishops on the Piping Shrike Models stand. Piping Shrike Models is a manufacturer of South Australian models in both kit and ready-to-run form. And they'd brought their layout Bishops, which is a HO scale layout set in the fictional area of mid-north South Australia, where a new standard gauge line connects to an existing broad gauge line for the run south to Adelaide. It also showcases models that they produce and services that they offer.
Yeah.
I think one standout of this layout is the fact that they had built actual broad gauge track running dual gauge track with
what about the
normal standard gauge.
Yeah.
English O-scale layout Ampney from the SAP4 group. Ampney represents a station on a branch line running through the Cotswolds area of England in the 1930s. The line was intended to link Oxford with Cirencester, but the original promoters ran out of money and the line passed to the Great Western Railway. The GWR decided not to complete the line and made Ampney the terminus on a rather narrow site, originally intended to be a passing station. The station building and the goods shed were built by the original promoters, and the signal box and engine shed were added by the Great Western Railway. The signal box is a laser cut kit, and other structures are built from scribed plastic card. The locomotives and rolling stock are commercial models or kits, and make an interesting comparison to the village models of the same scale. Double O-scale layout Wetherspoon from the St John's Salisbury Railway Modellers, South Australia. This layout is an English double O-scale layout of a branch line terminus operated by British Rail and a heritage railway.
Yeah.
Wetherspoon is a DC layout measuring 8 foot by 1 foot with a 4 by 1 foot fiddle yard. They have a pub called the White Swan with the town's name.
Nice.
So we're running DC at the moment.
With this setting, they aim to run British stock from the days of the Big Four, all the way up to modern day. Wetherspoon is operated by members of the St John's Salisbury Railway Modelers South Australia, based at the St John's Anglican Church. From the British Railway Modelers of Australia, 4mm scale layout, Ryne Valley. The BMRA South Australia division is a well-established group of enthusiasts with an interest of all aspects of British railways, both old and new. Informal meetings are held twice a month to share knowledge and visit members' layouts. Ryne Valley is a layout built by Gavin Thrum. This small, portable layout was a project with the challenge of how much can you squeeze into a small space. Ryne Valley is a fictitious Great Western Railway terminus that branches off a nearby station at the border of Wales and England. The village spans across a gorge, featuring a canal aqueduct and a Brunel-style timber viaduct high above a river. Old village buildings and watermills sit nestled amongst the woods along the river below the viaducts. Shirkwood is a through station that will continue under the road bridge towards Shirk.
There you go. From West Australia. Yeah, right.
G45 scale layout, uphill logging. This is a micro layout because the curves are tighter than the lowest radius LGB curves, which are 60 centimeters in radius. On the layout, a track bender has been used to achieve the radius of plus or minus 40 centimeters, and standard R1 turnouts have been used. Building a micro layout has come about because of the need to have smaller and lighter units for setup and breaking down at exhibitions, which can be handled by 2 people. The outcome is that the central portion of the layout could fit on one large dining room table. Locomotives and rolling stock with short wheelbases can be at home, which means that many items from the LGB range can be run on uphill logging. The overall theme is a logging camp. Several scenes have been drawn from viewing photographs of logging camps and have been compacted. As well as that, several scenes do feature automation. Southern Bricks, double-sized 7740 Lego train. The 7740 intercity passenger train set was first released in 1980. 1983 here in Australia. Andrew has created a double-sized operational version, which can be seen here alongside examples of the original set. Ilium Wye in HOn30. This layout depicts a narrow gauge Rio Grande Southern Railroad within the Colorado Mountains in the United States. This model depicts operations at Vance Junction on the RGS main line, where the branch line to Terralude leaves the main line. Vance Junction is situated on the deep sides of the San Miguel River. The turning facility, or Y, for Vance Junction had to be located on the best available piece of flat ground, along with the Telluride branch, but still had to cross a creek with 2 short bridges. While the RGS operated its own locomotives and rolling stock, neighbouring Denver and Rio Grande Western railroad equipment often found its way onto the line. With sharp curves and 1 in 25 grades, the trains were short and the locomotives worked hard. Patronage and freight downturn following the Great Depression led to the introduction of several rail motors called galloping geese. These were modified road vehicles and carried US mail, parcels and passengers. This layout is built on polystyrene foam and was laid with code 55 and code 70 track, with a few custom-made turnouts. The rolling stock is a broad selection of ready-to-run and kit items, while the structures are all handmade.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. I'll be there. No reason not to.
Reflections has no particular era, but it has a slightly British theme. Power might be steam, diesel, electric, from Canada, the continent, North America or even Australia. Buildings are mainly Metcalfe amongst various trees, shrubs and scatter material. And the layout is run with a simple DC system.
Oh, cool. You come to stall again? Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I love it. Out of gauge. Yeah. Yep.
something different from Alan Lewis. This display of trains uses 3 different gauges at the same scale. Using G-scale, the largest train is an American narrow gauge 3-foot 3-inch gauge. The next size down is an amusement railway, 18-inch gauge, using 00 scale trains, and the third is T-gauge, 1 in 450 scale with a gauge of 3mm, being used as a 3-inch gauge radio-controlled train with garden setting, with the Whistle Stop Cafe and Garden Railway Club rooms. Cali, Bach, Rheilen from Caleb Jenkins in 00 scale. Named after their golden retriever, Cali. Cali Bach is a fictional town in northern Wales. The English translation is Beautiful Little Railway. Cali meaning beautiful in both Welsh and Greek. Narrow gauge steam and narrow gauge itself were pioneering in the rugged hills of northern Wales and later became an institution for creating cheap and reliable transport for both freight and passengers worldwide. Modelled in 009 scale, the layout recreates an unmistakable charm and warmth felt by many who love the Welsh narrow gauge. The layout sees predominantly goods on the line, as well as slate from the vast Welsh quarries, sawn logs from timber from the local mill, and whole trainloads of agricultural products like fresh fruit, flowers, vegetables are sent out. In peak holiday season, passenger traffic comes into prominence, with many visiting the region during summer. Military trains also feature, conveying an era when narrow gauge railways became instrumental in carrying men and arms for the war effort.
Because an Explorer 930 would be really nice.
I did think about bringing the Maniclass that I have.
So as well as all those excellent layouts, you did have a couple of other smaller layouts in attendance. So there were also a large amount of traders and manufacturers. And they were On-Track Models, the National Railway Museum, Train World from Melbourne, Astronic, Ozrail, Piping Shrike Models, Burford Tools, Steam Ranger, Linden's Trains, Ixion and Gopher Models, SDS Models, Junction Models, Somerset Models, and Can Do Workshops. Now in 2025, this exhibition will be back on again at the same place and at the same time, and I hope to see lots of you again there in 2025. And if you are keen to find out more about the exhibition, you can follow them on social media, or keep up with everything model railways in Australia with the monthly model railway news on this channel. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed taking a look at the 2024 Adelaide Model Railway Exhibition. We'll see you all again soon. Hooroo!